Hello, and welcome to another lesson from Level Up Mathematics. In today's lesson, we will be exploring how to write the equation of a quadratic function when we're given a focus and a directrix. Before we get started, let's set up a couple of definitions. So a parabola is the set of all points that are equidistant from a fixed line called the directrix, and a fixed point called the focus. Now, before we move on, I'm going to come down to our image here of our parabolas, and I want to label these two things on our images so you can kind of get an idea of where they're located. So, in our first parabola that opens up, we have a vertex right here, and this point above it is called the focus point. And then the distance between the vertex and the focus point is the same distance from the vertex to a line called the directrix. Now, if your parabola opens up or down, your directrix will be a horizontal line, y equals k. So you might want to write that formula down. Okay. Now on our parabola that opens down, here is our vertex. Okay. So this point right here would be our focus point. And whatever this distance is, we have our directrix will be the same distance in the opposite direction. Directrix. And again, the formula for the directrix is y equals k. Now, one thing I want you to notice is the parabola always opens up towards the vertex. Towards the focus point. So if the focus point is above the vertex, the parabola will open up. If the focus point is below the vertex, the parabola is going to open down. Now, let's continue with our definitions. The midpoint of the segment from the focus perpendicular to the directrix is called the vertex. And the line passing through the focus and the vertex is the axis of symmetry, which we can abbreviate AOS. Now, the focal length P is the distance from the focus and the vertex, so we could call this P, and the distance from the vertex to the directrix, P. So they're both P units apart. So over here, if this is P units, this is P units, okay? The focal width is the distance from one side of the parabola to the other side through the focus and parallel to the directrix. So the focal width tells you how wide the parabola will be. So let me grab a different color here. So if my focus point is right here, and I went from this side to this side, this would be my focal width. And the focal width is 4 times the value of P. Okay. Now, the equation of a parabola with a vertical axis of symmetry is the equation x minus h quantity squared is equal to 4 times p times y minus k. Now, what I want you to notice is that the h value will always go with x, and the k value will always go with the y. Let me say that again. The h value will always go with the x. The k value will always go with the y. All right. Now, let's look at a couple of examples. You really need to do a couple of examples to become familiar with this formula and how to write the equations. So in example 1, it says, given the directrix is y equals 2, and the focus is 0, -4. Create a sketch and find each of the following. Be sure to label your sketch. So let's start with our directrix. The directrix is the horizontal line y equals 2. So on the y-axis, come to 2, and then draw a horizontal line through that. And it's said to label the graph. So I'll just abbreviate that directrix as direct. Okay, that's our directrix, y equals 2. Our focus point is at 0, -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our focus point. Now, the parabola will always open towards the focus point. So that means this parabola opens down. And that means P will be a negative number. If it opens down, the value of P will be a negative number. All right, now that we've labeled our given information, we can find the rest of the information we need to graph. So the next thing we need to find is the vertex. Now the vertex is always halfway between the directrix and the focus. So let's see how many units they are apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. They're 6 units apart. That means we have a vertex 3 units away from the focus. So 1, 2, 3. So let me label that vertex. Now we can go ahead and label that point. Our vertex is 0, -1. And above the vertex, would you put an H here and a K here? That's our vertex, H and K. Okay. Now the value of P is just the distance from the vertex to the focus. The distance from the vertex to the focus. So 1, 2, 3, -3 units. -3 units. Now the focus, they already gave us that information, so we don't need to figure it out. They already gave us the directrix, so we don't need to figure that out. The only thing we need to do now is draw our parabola. To draw our parabola, we need to know the width of the parabola. So write this down. The width of the parabola is 4 times, it's the absolute value of 4p because it's a distance. Okay, so in this problem, it would be the absolute value of 4 times -3, which would be the absolute value of -12, which is 12 units. So the width of this parabola is 12 units. So from the focus, I want to go 6 units in either direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so the total width of that parabola, if you counted it, would be 6 + 6, or 12 units. All right, once you know the width, now you can just connect all these points in a smooth U-shaped curve. Kind of hard to do on my iPad. I'll do the best I can. And there's our parabola. Okay. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to write an equation for this parabola. So let me write down the formula again for our parabola. It's x minus h quantity squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug in what we know. So in this problem, we know that h is 0. We know that p is -3. And we know that k is -1. Now, when we write our answer, we're going to clean this up a bit. So x minus 0 squared is the same thing as x squared. And then 4 times -3 is -12. And y minus -1 is the same thing as y plus 1. So there's our equation for the parabola that has a directrix of y equals 2 and a focus of 0, -4. All right, example 2. Given the vertex is 2, 0, and the directrix is y equals -2, create a sketch and find each of the following. Be sure to label your sketch. So in this problem, I know my vertex is 2, 0. So always label these with a V for vertex or F for focus. Because if you don't, you will get your vertex and your focus mixed up. I've been doing this a long time. I still get them mixed up when I don't label. Okay. Our directrix is y equals -2. So here's our directrix. So we've got that labeled. Okay. Now what we need to do is find our focus point. Well, before we could do anything else, let's write down the coordinates of the vertex. The coordinates of the vertex was 2, 0. Now, if the directrix is below the vertex, that means the focus will be above. But we have to figure out how many units above. So this is 2 units to the vertex. So I need to go 2 units up to find the focus. Now remember, the parabola will open towards the focus. So that means this parabola opens up, which means P is positive in this case. So the value of P would be +2. Now our focus point is 2, 2. The directrix was given to us, y equals -2. All right, now let's get the width of the parabola so we'll know how wide to draw it. And the width is the absolute value of 4p. So that'd be the absolute value of 4 times 2, which would be the absolute value of 8, which is 8. So I want my focal length to be 8 units. That means I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. All right, now we can connect our parabola with a smooth U-shaped curve. That's not the best one I've ever done, but you get the general idea. Now, for our equation, I think it's a good idea for you to keep writing this formula down. Eventually, you're going to memorize it without even trying. X minus h squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. Notice that only the x value is squared. Only the x value is squared in a parabola. Okay, so in our equation this time, oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't label this as hk. That will be helpful. Okay, so in this problem we have x minus h. In this problem, h is 2 squared equals 4 times 2 times y minus 0. Now, when we write this as our final answer, it would be x minus 2 quantity squared equals 4 times 2, which is 8, times y minus 0, which is just y. So there's our equation. X minus 2 squared equals 8y. All right, example 3. Given the focus is 2, 0, and the vertex is 2, -3, create a sketch, find the directrix, and write an equation to describe the parabola. All right, so our focus in this problem is 2, 0. So 1. Remember, you need to label that, or you won't know where the vertex is and where the focus is. You won't know which way the parabola opens. Okay, the vertex is at 2, -3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Label that with a V. All right, if the parabola opens towards the vertex, that means this parabola opens up, which means the value of P is going to be positive. So how many units is it from V to F? Well, 1, 2, 3. So we know the value of P is 3, and we know the vertex is at 2, -3. We know the focus is at 2, 0. Now we need the directrix. So the directrix is in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 down. And that's where our directrix will be. Abbreviate that, directrix. Now we just need to write an equation for that. It's a horizontal line, so y equals, and where did it land? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Y equals -6. All right, to get your equation, let's write down your general equation. Y equals x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. All right, I'll come up here and label this as h and k. And now we'll plug everything in. So this would be x minus 2 quantity squared equals 4 times 3 times y minus k, which is -3. Now I'll simplify that a little bit to x minus 2 quantity squared equals 12 parenthesis y plus 3. All right, I just realized I had not finished the parabola, so let's do that real quick. We need to get the width, which is the absolute value of 4p. So in this problem, that would be the absolute value of 4 times 3, which is 12. So from the focus, I want to move out 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can connect our points. In a U-shaped graph. All right, example 4. Given that the directrix is y equals 0 and the focus is 4, -4, create a sketch, find the vertex, and write an equation to describe the parabola. All right, so directrix of y equals 0. Whoops, I need to erase that. So that's just going to be the x-axis. So let's sketch that in. This would be our directrix. Okay, our focus is 4, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there is our focus. And be sure to label that as F. Now, the vertex is halfway in between those two. So 1, 2, they're 4 units away from each other. So the vertex would have to be 2 units above the focus. There's our vertex. All right, so our vertex is going to be at 4, -2. So that's our H, that's our K. Now, which way do you think the parabola will open? If you said the parabola opens down, you were correct, which means in this problem, my P value must be negative. So we're going to put -2 as our P value. All right, our focus point was given to us, so let me write that down, 4, -4. Our directrix was also given to us, y equals 0. The next thing we're going to do is find out how wide the parabola is. So what is the width of our parabola? It's the absolute value of 4 times P. So that's the absolute value of 4 times -2, which would be the absolute value of -8, which ends up being +8. So I want to go 4 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, now that you know how wide your parabola is, you can make your U shape. Okay. Now the last thing we're going to do is write our equation. So my general form is x minus h quantity squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. So this would be x minus 4 squared equals 4 times -2 parenthesis y minus k, which is -2. All right, let's clean that up and write the equation. So x minus 4 quantity squared equals -8 parenthesis, y plus 2. And there's your equation. Now, in our last two examples, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start you off with the equation, and you're going to create a sketch. So it's like we're going backwards. In all of our other examples, we were trying to use the given information to find an equation. Now I'm giving you an equation, and I want you to find the given information. So above your equation, what I would do to start this is I would write the general form, like right above it. So I would put x minus h parentheses squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. Okay. Now, when you do that, that allows you to find your vertex, because your vertex is the point h, comma k. So my vertex has to be 4, comma, negative 3. So our vertex is 4, negative 3. So I'm going to come over here and plot that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right, so there is my vertex. Remember I said always label it, or it's going to be very difficult to determine which way your parabola opens. All right, the next thing I'm going to get is my p-value. Now, the p-value is positive here. So if 4p is equal to 12, then 1p must equal positive 3, which means this parabola will open up. Okay, now if it's going to open up, that helps me find my focus point, because I just have to move up 3 units. 1, 2, 3, and my focus would land right there. Be sure to label it. So that is going to be the point 4, comma 0. Now, the directrix would be in the opposite direction. So go down 3 units from the vertex. 1, 2, 3. And there's our directrix. So that is the equation y is equal to, we'll count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, equals negative 6. Now, the only thing left to do is to find the width, so we can create our sketch. Remember, our width is 4p, so we already know this width in this problem is 12. So from our focus, I want to go to the right 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and to the left 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And I want to sketch. And there's our parabola. All right, example 6. A parabola has the equation x plus 2 quantity squared equals negative 8 y times y minus 5. Find each of the following and then sketch. Be sure to label. Pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, let's see how you did. For the vertex, I put negative 2, comma 5. So 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So vertex is right there. Now, in this problem, 4p was equal to negative 8. Therefore, 1p equals negative 2, which means this parabola is going to open down. So that means to find my focus, I move down 2 units. 1, 2. This would be my focus. So that's negative 2, comma 3. To find my directrix, I go 2 units in the opposite direction. So here's my directrix. So that would be y equals 7. Label it. Okay. Then the only thing I need to do now is to find the width of the parabola and sketch it. So the width is equal to 4p. And in this problem, they told us 4p was -8, or just 8 units. So I'm going to go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know the width. And here's our sketch. And that concludes today's lesson, writing the equations of quadratic functions given the focus and directrix, day 1.